you. Just one other quick issue, Chair, and then I'm done. Thank you. Ms Pye, this is a matter which we'll primarily pursue with DPS, but I just want to know, to the extent you had any visibility of this issue, Senate question on notice 49 had summarised some of the costs of construction works in the building in the last financial year and included a line item for the construction of the fourth party room at $886,521. Did the Department of the Senate have any involvement in the construction of the so-called fourth party room?
Can I get John to answer that question, Senator?
John Begley, Usher of the Black Road. Thanks, Senator. We don't have any involvement in the cost side of things, no. But I worked as kind of a liaison, I guess, with the Greens as the fourth largest party of the parliament to help was a sort of conduit between them and DPS, essentially, in the building side of things.
Yes, and this party room is on the Senate side, isn't it?
It is, yes, Senator.
Why do we call it the fourth party room when it's just the Greens party room?
It's for the fourth largest party of the parliament, so if someone else was to be the fourth largest party, then by rights they would take it over.
Do you have any visibility of how the decision was made or who made the decision that a fourth party room should be constructed or renovated?
It goes back to the beginning of the last parliament in the changeover between the Liberal government and into the Labor government. A letter was written which requested things when the Greens got a lot larger.
A letter from whom and to
from
whom?
the Greens to the presiding officers, the then presiding officers, who aren't the current presiding officers.
Senator Brockman at the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Discussion started when under the last Liberal government.
Yep.
So it took then from there we gave a temporary party room, which would have been aware of S1S6, which took that committee room offline, which was not desirable. So then a process began to determine where we might be able to fit a new party room to be able to host them. And then we moved people around and shuffled the deck chairs to make that space available.
When was the decision made that there should be the construction of a fourth party room?
I don't think I have that date, Senator. That
Okay.
might something DPS might know.
Yeah, if you could take it on notice, and I'll also pursue it with DPS. So you don't have any involvement in the costs or the management of the contract?
No, Senator.
And was the Department of the Senate consulted on the provision of the space in the building, that particular wing of the building?
Yeah, I think we were involved to help identify where to put it, and that area used to be located where the PEO was, the Parliamentary Education Office, and we facilitated moving the PEO out and moving other teams around and those sorts of things.
Where's the PEO now as a result of this?
The PEO is near 1S6 upstairs there.
Yep. Okay. All right, I'll pursue that further with DPS.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to another topic. I was asking the Department of Senate earlier about the construction of the fourth party room, and in particular the disclosure on question on notice number 49 that the construction cost $886,521. Why does it cost almost $1 million to renovate one room in Parliament House?
Senator, I'll ask Mr Packboy to come forward and talk to you about that matter.
Thank you.
I'll just inform DPS Senator Patterson, because I mightn't be correct and I'd want to correct the record, but I did say that some of the costs went to ceiling works. But those comments can be either agreed to or not agreed to, and if they're not agreed to, I'll rescind my claim.
Good morning, Senator. Paul Packboy, Assistant Secretary, Property Services Branch. So could you just repeat your question?5
Senate question notice 49, attachment A, disclosed that the construction of the fourth party room cost $886,521. Why does it cost almost $1 million to renovate a single room in Parliament House?
So the construction of the fourth party room was more than just a renovation of a room. If you've been down to that area...
I'm not typically invited to attend Greens party meetings.
I'm talking about just the general physical area.
Sure.
It's the south-western wing of the Senate on the ground and first floor. We've demolitioned the ground floor, and we're about to start on the first floor, and that whole area will become 11 suites as well as the fourth party room. So the construction costs associated with the fourth party room include that demolition as well as the design, planning, architectural services, engineering services. And as the President mentioned, we also are taking the opportunity to refurbish or replace services infrastructure. So when I talk about services infrastructure, excuse me, that's the heating, ventilation, air conditioning infrastructure. This building has 4 water reticulation services within it. So that's domestic cold and hot water for heating, as well as what's called the flusherette system, which I can explain further if you'd like. So I guess the point is it was not a renovation but a rebuilding of that area with delivery of the 4th party room.
So to be clear, you're saying the total costs of the renovation of that entire wing come to $886,521, not just the 4th party room?
No, Senator. The cost reported in the question I noticed that you're referring to is the costs of that work that we've allocated to the 4th party room project.
Right. So it is $886,521 for one room?
For 2024-25, that was the cost for that project, yes, Senator.
Right. So there are maybe additional costs outside that financial year for that same room?
Associated with that room, yes.
Okay. How much is that?
So in 23-24, there's associated costs with the 4th party room project of $452,762. The $886,522 that you've already referenced in 24-25. With a subtotal of just over 1.3 million. And in 25-26, we've had associated costs of $289,714 with the 4th party room project.
Right, so we're now talking $1.6 million or thereabouts on one room in Parliament House.
Senator, if I could just add potentially an
Before you do,
form.
I just want to clarify that, please, with the witness. Is my maths right? $1.6 million for one room?
For the 4th party room project, yes, Senator.
Right. Okay, I'll start again. I thought $886,521 was bad. $1.6 million is worse. How does it cost How does it cost $1.6 million to renovate one room in Parliament House?
Senator, if I could add that additional piece of clarification,
Please.
which I have just confirmed with my colleague, Mr Pakpoy. The cost associated with the 4th party room goes to the construction of the 4th party room. At the same time, there's been a significant amount of demolition in that space. The demolition also retakes out cabling that's been there for successive amounts of years, as well as all of the water reticulation systems, etc. So while that cost is there for the 4th party room project, it's not a total reflection for just the room, because there has been in-ceiling works that have been conducted as well at that same time.
So of the $1.6 million spent on a new party room for the Greens, how much of it is primarily related to the room itself and how much is it related to other costs like cabling?
We'll be able to pull that apart for you, Senator, and provide that to you on notice. And if I can also add, in one of the Secretary's letters to the committee, we've actually offered the committee to have a walk through that area, which is undergoing extensive renovation at the moment, both for the fire compliance and in-ceiling works, but also for the construction that's going into the construction of the new Senate suites. It would be very helpful to be able to show everyone, rather than just having us try to explain, the complexity of what's happening in the construction space of the ceiling.
Okay. Mr Pakpoy, would it be fair to say that of the $1.6 million spent on the 4th party room / Greens party room, that the majority of the costs are associated with the room and a minority of the costs are associated with the cabling and other issues?
I think that's a reasonable statement, Senator.
Yeah. So you can build a very nice, brand new family home, 4 bedrooms, for $400,000. Why does it cost nearly That's construction costs, Senator. Certainly the land is more expensive, but construction costs, have a look at the volume builders, that's very standard. You can build a nice family home for $400,000. Why does it cost nearly 4 times that much to build one room in Parliament House?
Construction in Parliament House is quite different from the sort of construction you're referring
Obviously.
to, Senator. As you would be aware, Parliament House, there are certain architectural outcomes that need to be achieved. The design intent of the original architects needs to be maintained, and the finishes and the associated services need to be of a very high standard, as befitting the status of the building.
Sure,
The
sure,
other
but we're talking
complexity
about
too,
one
Senator.
room for $1.6 million with some associated works. What kind of carpet are we putting in? What kind of walls are we putting in? Is it gold plated? I mean, that is an extraordinary amount of money for one room.
Senator, the other complexity that Mr Packboy hasn't touched on in terms of doing construction at Parliament House is actually the sheer timeframes that are assigned. All construction, all demolition has to stop when sitting periods are held, meaning that we have contractors, etc., that are in place that still required to be able to be proceeding. We have compressed timeframes to be able to bring contractors in. In the case of the construction of the fourth party room, at times we had contractors in at 5 o'clock in the morning. They ceased work at 9 a.m.
Sure, Ms.
Coming
Sinder,
back.
I appreciate that, but every project manager will tell you that their building project has unique requirements and they can't operate at certain times or in certain weather or in certain conditions, or they didn't get the delivery of the materials they needed and that delayed this. And every project has its excuses, but $1.6 million on one room is an extraordinary figure. Was there a budget for this project, and how much was the budget when it was initially approved?
I'll need to check what the original budget was, but yes, there was a budget. One thing that we did do, and we do reasonably regularly in association with our projects, was once we've gotten to a certain stage of the design of whatever the project is, we then take it to an independent quantity surveyor to get an assessment of the costs, which we did on this occasion, and the costs that were provided in that report were similar to what the final costs were for the project. So,
right, so the budget for this room was in the vicinity of $1.6 million, or was it less than $1.6 million?
I think the original budget was more than $1.6 million.
Right.
When the budget is originally set, that's based on whatever information is available at that time. As we move through the design process, we'll then, as we did in this project, take the design to a quantity surveyor to get advice on what we should expect in terms of costs. And on this occasion, the final cost for the project was similar to what we were provided through the quantity surveyor process.
When was the budget approved?
I would need to take that on notice, I think, Senator. I'm not sure I have that with me. I don't have the actual date, Senator, but I believe it was in the 2023 year.
Okay. Who was the decision maker on whether or not this would proceed?
So that project would have been approved by the department's executive committee to be allocated a budget at that point.
Who's on the executive committee?
I can tell you who, from a position point of view, the secretary and deputy secretary and each of the first assistant secretaries make up the current executive committee. I'm not sure if that's different from what it might have been in 2023.
Sure. Ms Hinchcliffe, were you in the role then, or was this something approved by your predecessor?
Senator, this was prior to me joining the department.
Thank you. And Ms Hinder, were you in your role and did you
No,
participate?
Senator.
So
No, Senator.
no one who is currently at the table or in the room was part of that executive decision-making committee?
I suspect not, Senator.
If anyone is in the room who was part of the executive committee, I ask you to come forward. If not, I'll proceed.
Stephen Fox, Parliamentary Librarian. Subject to the date, I may have been in the room at that time, but I'd need to confirm that through date.
Do you remember participating?
I do not remember
decision?
participating in this decision, though. So.
All right, thank you. I'll let you take that on notice. Are decisions to expend that kind of money the sole preserve of the Executive Committee, or do they require any other approval?
I won't go to the historical situation, but the current situation that we have in place is that the Executive Committee can approve a capital works project and the associated budget. In addition, if certain conditions are met, we can take a proposal to the Secretary for her approval. That's our current
Is there a
procedure.
threshold, though? You know, the committee is authorised to approve projects up to $500,000, $1 million, $2 million?
Technically, on a project-by-project basis, no, there isn't a threshold. The threshold that the committee would be working to would be the department's administered appropriation for capital works.
Are the presiding officers ever asked to approve projects of this nature and size?
From time to time, the presiding officers will be consulted about a project. Because it's a budget approval of the appropriation, technically the presiding officers aren't asked to approve the budget, if you like, but where there's a project that we think is or needs that consultation, we will take it to the presiding officers to get their views.
President, were you ever asked to express your view on whether or not the Parliament should build a $1.6 million party room for the Greens?
No, Senator Patterson, but I would have signed off on an approval document. I'm happy to take that on notice and provide you information. But I seriously think the committee, who has obviously proper and correct concerns about costs, should go and look at the works. They are extensive, and I think it's a mischaracterisation to keep referring to one room. Significant works have occurred and are continuing to occur down there, including extensive ceiling works which are going to have to occur across the building. And as I said earlier this morning, that was a significant learning for the department about how to do them more efficiently into the future. And I'm disappointed that you did dismiss the work time frame because, as Ms Hinder said, in the end, I instructed DPS just to finish the job, and I would deal with any disruptions that came to me from senators, because it was costing us a lot of money to do the works outside of business hours. And so I made an instruction prior to us coming back for the start of the new parliament that the party room was to be finished regardless of whether we were sitting or not, because I was concerned about costs and I was concerned about it dragging out. So I would invite senators to have a look at the extensive works down there. And yes, I'll get on notice what I signed off on. But
thank you, President. I'm very curious to see this lavish room that costs $1.6 million, as we've heard from Mr Packboy.
Senator Patterson, if it's lavish, it's in line with every other committee room in this place. We have a Moral Rights Committee who upholds the standards in Parliament House, so that committee rooms and senators' suites and other rooms all are within the design framework of this place. So if you want to term that room as lavish, then it applies right across the Parliament.
President, do you think it's value for taxpayers' money to spend $1.6 million on one room?
As I said, Senator Patterson, the costs went to other matters as well, and I would invite senators to go and look at the works that are occurring and will continue to occur across the Parliament, particularly in relation to ceiling works, which I might add have been kicked down the road by previous governments and previous presiding officers, which the current presiding officers said needed to occur because the cost for those ceiling works has escalated because they were ignored in the past.
Thank you, and I look forward to a more detailed breakdown on notice, but as Mr Packboy has said, the majority of the $1.6 million related to the room and not on the other works. So I look forward to seeing that on notice. Can I also ask on notice for all correspondence and documents relating to this project? Thank you, Chair.